I'm going to be making some black bean fritters or black bean patties. I'm going to do them in the oven, so I don't like to fry things, but this is a really cheap, easy meal with some things you probably already have. I had to buy the beans because I didn't just have any, but I usually like to keep them around. Um, I have one egg because I already had some eggs, a quarter of an onion, which is how much I need. I've been using it for other things. I did have to buy this flour yesterday, but now I'm not going to have to buy it again for a long time. And then really whatever seasonings you like. I'm going to be using black pepper and sea salts, some cumin, chili powder, and Mrs. Dash original because I believe in over seasoning or seasoning with your heart. Oh, I did forget something. I'm also going to be using this minced garlic in a tube. This is not very cost effective. This was just me because I am being lazy. Ordinarily, I would prefer to use regular garlic, but you know what? Garlic or tubed garlic, however you can get it. Really, even garlic powder would be fine. So we have 1 can of black beans. You can actually use any bean that's a similar consistency with this. These are canned. I imagine you could use non-canned beans as well, but this is what I prefer to do. So yeah, you could use, these are black beans, you could use cannellini, you could use chickpeas, you could use even lentils, I guess. This is a pretty straightforward little patty. I did go ahead and already get out my ½ cup of flour. It's not super precise, and you might end up adding a little more if you find that your patty, once you've mixed everything together, if it's too liquidy, you can always add a little more. So not super precise, but this is a ½ cup. I gotta chop up this onion real quick. So I just sort of had, I mean, this is obviously not a new idea, making patties out of beans and such. It's actually something I've been considering doing for a little while, but now since meat is so expensive, and I'm just trying to eat a little healthier in general, I wanted to give it a try. I actually made a batch yesterday, and it was so good that it's already gone because I had some for lunch and I had some with my salad for dinner. Don't pay attention to my unsafe knife handling. There we go. I had some for dinner. In my salad, I just kind of crumbled the patty up. My boyfriend is historically a bean hater. He does not like beans in any form or fashion. He might tolerate hummus because it's not in like bean form. But chili, no. Bean soup, no. It's fine because like I make what I want for myself. But there's so many things missing out recipe-wise I could be doing because he does not like beans. And it's fine. You know, I could cook with them if I want to. And like I said, I do it for myself. But I'm cooking for both of us. So I'm going to make something that I know we'll both eat and enjoy. However, when I made this for myself yesterday and I told him how great it was, and he was like, oh, I'll try it. He tried it. He loved it. So now I'm making more. And I told him I was making more salads for dinner. He said, oh, I'll take another bean patty, please. I said, oh, okay. So bean patty, bean fritter, bean burger, whatever. Basically, this is going to, you know, end up in a little patty form. The beans are going to be partly mashed, so they make sort of a soft meat-like texture. I'm not going to pretend that it's going to feel like meat, but that wasn't my goal. It just was something I observed. I'm not really interested in a meat substitute or anything. This is just a way for me to get more vegetables in my life and more protein that's not processed lunch meat. I'm obsessed with like Publix subs, and I do not have like what I would consider too many, but once a week, you know, maybe. Nowadays less because it's so expensive. So I just have to do something that is healthy, cost effective, and it's bonus that he likes it too. So if you see over here, I put the beans in there. I actually should have mashed the beans up before I put the onions in there, but it's not actually really going to matter. I'm going to do that right now. As soon as I rinse my hands. Alright, so it doesn't matter that the onions are in there because you're not even like making a puree or anything. You're just doing like I'll show you. I'm just pressing my fork sort of against the beans, against the edges of the bowl. If you have like a potato masher, that would work. It will definitely be easier to do this if there are not already onions in the bowl. However, they will still mash just as easily. If you're using like not canned beans, you just got to make sure that they are soft before, you want a nice well-cooked bean before you go to mashing. Like I said, it's not going to be necessarily like puree. You're going to have some whole bean or some partial like bean texture in there. And this is of course going to be mixed even more once I add the flour and the egg and whatnot. Alright. So we look in here. It's pretty pasty. It's beans, it's onions, nothing too exciting. Now I'm going to get to my seasonings. I'm not going to put too much salt in, literally just like 2 half turns. You can salt it however you like. I do like a lot of pepper in here. Like I said, I do like to over season or season with my heart or whatever. Of course, my hand is still wet, so. Okay. And you don't have to fresh grind pepper. I just keep these around because I prefer it. There's nothing wrong with pepper that's already ground up. Cumin. Now, I'm putting cumin and chili powder in there because I like how those taste. I don't put like enough so that it's going to taste like I'm eating taco meat or something, but I do like the flavors. Again, you can flavor it however you like. Chili powder, just a sprinkling. Sorry, I'm not doing a good job with my camera stuff because it's just there. But and I'm gonna add some Mrs. Dash. This is the original. Yesterday when I made this, I used what they called table blend. It's probably not a whole lot different. However, I am going to put it in there, and I'm going to put a lot because Mrs. Dash does not use salt, so over seasoning is, very easy to do. You don't have to worry about your sodium. Now that's a lot of dry, powdery, and so I'm going to stir it up, mash it around, and it's going to be kind of dry, kind of mealy seeming because you did rinse and drain the beans, so, I mean, I didn't dry them off, but they're mostly without liquid. So, once you feel happy about that, just take in, not the egg yet, I'm actually going to take the flour, and this is just because this is how I prefer to do it. I'm going to mix the flour in, I guess, like kind of fork it in. You don't want to be too crazy with your stirring because it is a powder. Before you incorporate it in a little bit, it could poof up at you. I'm going to show you. It already starts looking like it's clumping up, like a cookie dough. But it's not going to fully incorporate because it's so dry and there's so much more dry ingredient. But you want to try to mash it in there as well as you can. It's going to be clumpy still at this stage, so like we're not looking for a fine dough, but just trying to get a lot of loose pocket of, so right, so you see it looks very dusty, not yummy, but that's okay. for camera skills. All right. Last but not least, we have the egg. I just pop it usually once. I did stick my thumb in there, but it's fine. I know you didn't see me do it on camera, but I always wash my hands before I work with food. I typically don't cook for a lot of other people, but it's just me and my boyfriend. But I always practice hand washing techniques because you touch so many things. All right, now I'm going to mix that egg in. I did not say this ahead of time, and I realize I've had this issue before, but you should preheat your oven to 400 degrees. That is, at least so far, what I have done it on. This recipe isn't like a direct recipe per se, but more like a mix-up of information that I acquired while looking up the ways that various people have made bean fritters. So the measurements that I'm choosing, the temperature I'm choosing, I did not come up with these ideas. I just sort of made something using similar technique to others. You know what I'm saying? I didn't create a bean fritter. So, as you see, it's sticking together a lot more now. It's kind of gooey, but not runny. It's just kind of pasty. That's great. You just want to make sure there's no unincorporated flour. Alright. I'm going to get like a scraping tool, like a spatula tool or something, just to make sure I get it all off the edges. But I'm happy with this. It's actually a bit better than yesterday. Yesterday it was a little goopier because I was lazy and I just rinsed it in a can, like in the can it came in, instead of pulling out the strainer. So it was a bit goopier. I feel like this is going to end up crispier than yesterday's did, which is also nice. So now that the oven's preheated to 400, I'm going to line a sheet with parchment paper. I'm going to spread a thin layer of oil over the parchment paper, and I'm going to scoop these bean fritters out. I realized that I forgot to put in the garlic. I'm just going to put a big squirt of it in there because garlic is delicious. That's probably like 2 cloves worth, but you know, whatever. I'm going to mash it up in there. All right, I have my parchment paper. It's got olive oil spread across it. I just used my fingers. Obviously I couldn't film during that because it's messy. Hands washed at all times. I'm going to take like a small amount of this dough. I'm going to put it right on there. I'm actually going to probably make it a little bigger than that. Alright, so it's a nice little lump. I don't know how to quantify that. You don't want it to be like a round blob, and I mean it's kind of sticky so it'll settle out, but there it is. I just put a little excess I had over there. I'm going to put this down and finish that. Alright, so there we have them. Yesterday I cut the onions up a bit finer. They're a little chunkier today, but I think I'll like that. So here we are. They kind of look like little cookies, maybe. I don't know. But these are going to go in the oven for about 10 minutes, 12 minutes. You just don't want them to be in there so long that they get hard, because you're going to flip them and cook them a little longer. So, yeah, I'll check back in about 10 minutes and we'll see. Alright, so this is what they look like right now. So I'm going to flip them over. It's been 10 minutes. Look at that. Beautiful color. Now they're a little thick and I want them to be thinner. So it's kind of like me like a smash burger. It's okay. The other side's, there we go. See? Now it's kind of smashed. No, well, I forgot to flip it first, but here we go. Flip. I guess it works either way, but flip and smash. You want them to be, yeah, They kind of already look like a little burger, like obviously they're not burgers and it wouldn't fool anyone, but like they have a burger adjacent appearance, I guess. You can kind of hear the crunch as I smash it too. I'm gonna rearrange these guys a little bit there. Yeah, so smash them down. So now they're kind of thin. And I'm gonna put them back in for probably another 10 minutes. All right, and here they are. They don't look pretty, but they are bean patties. I think they would have looked nicer if I had done a more fine dice on the onions like I did yesterday, but I just didn't feel like it. I've been eating these in a pita bread with some greens and feta. We also, like I said, crumbled them up into a salad. This morning I just ate one for breakfast. This is really great. I'm looking forward to trying different beans, different vegetables, like just combinations to make more patties out of, because this, out of pocket today, I only had to purchase the can of beans. It's like a $1, it was under $1.50, I just can't recall at the moment. But yeah, everything else I already had here. If I hadn't and I'd have purchased it, all the things that I use for this, I would get 2 or 3 uses out of minimum before I have to purchase more, like vegetable, like the onion. I usually use like a quarter of an onion at a time. So yeah, easy, cheap. Even my bean-hating boyfriend loves these. So enjoy.